The Proper Football Live Show, Sundays at 6 p.m. for your football fix on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter and PF Radio. Check out our website at properfootball.co.uk.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Proper Football Live. It is 6:15 rather than 6. Delayed it a little while because we know the cup final's going on, for which Manchester United are winning 2-0. We are one light today, but we're going to go around the table in a minute. We were hoping to have Steve Muzz on, West Ham supporter, for a chat. Unfortunately, we have to wait for another week for that one. He can't quite make it. So let's have a quick wander around the table. Nigel, have you had a good week and how you been?
Yeah. I've had a good week on the streams. I've been busy today. I've done my little chat show with Callie and had a few sherbets up the pub. So,
did you do karaoke on Monday or
no? Tomorrow I'm going over there again tomorrow.
Absolutely balmy. And joining us once again, a friend of our show, Greg from Billericay Town. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. I'm doing dry February, so I'm not having any sherbets, which is really upsetting me.
Why you've been out to come on the show? Because it's normally a bit of a pub thing for you on a Sunday, isn't it?
You know me too well. But other than that, no, all good. Enjoying football, enjoying life.
Good, cool. We'll obviously come on to some of the changes that I know you've made with your ownership of Billericay, and we'll have a little catch up on how they're doing. Right, okay, but before we do that, let's give you some idea what we're going to do. So in a moment, we're just going to have a little bit of a memorial to two absolute sporting legends. And we've got quite a lot to catch up on. Obviously, having Tony Coton on last week was a pretty amazing show. I'm sure all of you that watched that would completely agree. But it also meant that I had a few things that couldn't quite squeeze in because the show was really good. Good evening to Lee Poulter. How are you? Right, so we've got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about money in the game again because a few things have cropped up there. Going to give you a bit of an insight into we're doing an Under the Floodlights special. That's coming up on Thursday night. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. And Greg, this might be interesting for you to watch as well. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. So we're going to crack on. We will just keep one eye on the end of the cup final there. We know Man United winning 2-0, looking like they're going to lift the cup. Gutted. I really did want Newcastle to do it, but hey ho. Right, okay. If you want to get involved and you want to have a little questioning or chats, just jump on. Good evening to Sean Colpin. Good evening to Paul Stone. Just make your comments. We'll pick them up. If you want to ask a question of any kind, as long as it's sensible, then fire away and we'll do our best to answer them. But right now, folks, I think these two gentlemen deserve this. This is a little summit we've knocked together.
Decision, but it didn't produce the goal.
Here's Gascoigne. Oh, brilliant! Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Armstrong again. Callahan! He backheeled it in. Oh, what a cheeky goal! Nigel Callahan. The 19-year-old makes it 2-0. Having made the first, he scored the second. And if they have a competition for the cheekiest goal of the season, that's got to win it.
By the English cross-country selectors for their team at the World Championship in Portugal next month, despite the tremendous disappointment of having been forced to run out in the English Championship today. So that brings us to the end of our programme. Now let's have a look at the copsucker that cups on.
So there you have it. That was, I believe, I'm going to come to you chaps in a moment, and Nigel would touch on that. And I've actually got the official clip of that goal as well. But yeah, these two guys, I think, we forgot maybe Dickie Davis died only 2 weeks ago. For me, they're the voices that I grew up with. Football and the world of sport, fantastic shows, and two major losses to the sports world. And Nigel, obviously in that clip, we managed to get the audio from the goal you scored against West Ham in the Cup, which I've got, but I don't know whether we show you. Well, go on, let's show it, and then let's see.
Well, can Watford continue to make the running for what remains of the match, because they've made it all so far? Pritchard to take the corner. Armstrong again. Callahan! He backheeled it in! Oh, what a cheeky goal! Nigel Callahan!
Oh, what a cheeky goal.
You've obviously the audio, but obviously John Motson there. Yeah, what a loss. Did you ever meet him, Nigel?
Yeah, I've met him a few times. Actually, the first time I spoke to him, I was watching Watford. I was about 15. I'd gone to a game with my dad. They'd set the camera up in the island of stand, and he was up there commentating. And I just went up to him and said hello, and said I wanted to be a footballer and all that lot. And then obviously, through some of the games that they televised and I scored goals, I sort of had a chat with him after the games, interviews and stuff like that. Yeah, really nice guy, and sort of that sheepskin coat went everywhere with him, didn't it? Yeah, really nice guy. Good commentator as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I didn't realise that you actually knew him quite well, although he was quite regular down at Watford anyway, even in the later days of his life. Quite funny little story. He lived in Little Brickhill, funny enough, which is just outside Milton Keynes. You've got in the past quite a few famous people who lived there. Little Barry McGuigan, the Geordie fella out of Avida, same pet, was in he lived Little Brickhill as well. But by all accounts, according to the landlady and landlord of the George in Little Brickhill, he was in the pub the night before he died watching the footy. Walked out the pub and said good night. I'll hopefully maybe pop in over the weekend. And so it was a very unexpected death, But Greg, ever met John Motson at all?
No, never met him, Gary. But as you were saying earlier on, he was the voice of a generation, or they were the voice of the generation. They were my Saturday. Watch World of Sport. If I wasn't playing it myself, then I'd watch World of Sport, and then of course, Motty and the football. It was just. Yeah, it brings back so many memories seeing those clips. Sadly missed.
Yeah, definitely. The funny clip there when he with Dickie Davis. We won't repeat. But yeah, absolutely. But look,
I think we saw a lot more John Motson as well back in the days, because they were the days where not every match was televised.
No. Yeah, of course.
So obviously, there was only maybe one, 2 or 3 games that they were showing on Match of the Day. So Motty was the man, wasn't he? He was at every main match. He was the main commentator.
Yeah, as we said on the end of that clip, both of them, both John Motson and Dickie Davis, definitely from, I think, our generation, without a doubt, they're the voice of sport in general, without a doubt. And we can only but thank them for all that. And like you say, lovely memories when you think back and hear their voices, and you think, brilliant. Right, okay, we're going to move along. So let's catch up with you, Greg. So it's been a while since you've been on the show, and I would, obviously, Billericay being relegated last season from the National League South into the Isthmian Premier, was it? Or
that's right. Yeah.
It was Isthmian Premier League.
Yeah.
Bit of a shock, because I've obviously visited you at the club, and for me, the setup there is National League setup. Without a doubt, you've got a good crowd there as well. How have you found the Isthmian League? Because it's not been all plain sailing, has it?
No, we're 12th in the league at the moment. still an outside chance of making the playoffs, I guess, but I suspect it's kind of mid-table obscurity for us. It's been difficult, to be honest. Even at that level, money we're going to talk about. It's a constant theme in football these days. There are sides paying double the budget that we are in that league, and we've not changed our budget since we were in National League South.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Well,
and also,
unreal, really.
But you've got a real kind of difference in styles in the Isthmian League. There are teams who are not trying to play football. They're hitting a big man, target man, playing more of an industrial game. And so you've got to try and have a team that can deal with both. And I think we've missed out this season because we tried to carry on playing football that we didn't manage to play, of course, in National League South because we got relegated. But we've tried to play our way back in again. And I think, looking forwards, we probably need to mix it a little bit more for the teams that come and just park the bus and hit a big man up front.
Yeah. So, crowd, so you're still pulling them in, aren't you?
Average is about 800 per game, which is not bad at all. So, the fans...
There are some well-supported clubs in that league as well, aren't there?
There are, but we're doing fine from that perspective. Obviously, if we were at the top end, we'd be getting more than that, nearer 1,000. But 800 is a good crowd for us.
Yeah.
Have you had to bring in players that, like you say, that some of them are going Route 1, not hitting the big man up front? So you're going to come up against teams that are more physical, going to grind it out, and you had to sort of change your squad a little bit so that when you do go to these games, you can change your team around.
Yeah, we've been constantly trying to change the squad around, Callie, as you've probably seen from the comings and goings. We've not found a decent target man, to be honest, because that's what every club wants. Everybody wants a big target man that can score goals. If you're not paying top money, then it's difficult to find that player. But I think next season we just need to set out with a different philosophy. We tried to play too much football this year, if I'm honest, and it hasn't always worked.
No, I know the feeling, mate. When I played at Billericay, it was, from playing at the standard I was playing to playing with them lads and coming up, like you say, coming up against teams where the manager of that team, he just wants 6-footers in the side, and you know exactly what you're going to come up against, and sometimes if you haven't got the sort of players that can cope with that, you just get bullied out of it, don't you?
You do, and we've got some very good footballers, but on a cold night at Brightlingsea against a team of 6-footers, to be fair, they go missing. And that's the truth of it. Its budget doesn't come into it at that point. It's about the style of play that you're coming up against and whether you can win that battle first before you can then add a bit of quality. And I don't think we got that balance right this season.
No.
I guess, yeah. Fingers crossed that you do get back up to where you should be. But like you say, you're up against, and we hear this all the time. You're up against this almost unfair playing field with the finances. But anyway, what I did want to quickly touch on, because you've altered your position now at Billericay, obviously one of the co-owners. You've actually now moved away from co-owning the men's team, and you've put yourself behind the Billericay ladies side. Is that right?
That's true. So it costs a lot of money to be an owner of a football club, to be honest.
Yeah.
And to also, I sponsor and really push. I'm still the chairman of the women and girls section, so I was also funding that, still funding that. And if I want to get the women's team into the championship, which is one promotion for us, that's going to take a lot of money now because there's more and more money coming into the women's game. So I couldn't actually do both. So that's why I sold to two of the other owners, because they're keen on taking the main club forward. It doesn't actually alter what I do, to be honest. So I still do a lot of the media and stuff for them, but it means I can put my full weight behind the women's team.
Yeah. Oh, cool. And you touch on that about the women's game. I don't actually follow the women's game that much, but I do listen into what I can. And is it I'll ask this is an awkward question maybe. Is it a worry though in the women's game that the whole costs, and particularly if they want to start following down the same route as the men's, and I've heard it said at the highest level as well, that this is something in the minds of a lot of people in terms of if they start having to not match maybe, but certainly keep up with high levels of wages. We all know the dreaded out of my head now, innit? You know what I'm on about. What are they called? I'm having a brain block here.
I don't know, Gary. Where are you going with that?
Help me, someone. Help! I'm drowning. I've just
the
people that represent the player. Quickly.
Oh, the agents.
The agents.
Yeah. So
no, you obviously got agents getting involved with the ladies, and is it a worry that they'll push that, and maybe the sport could grow with its financially before there is enough finance coming into the women's game? Could that be? Is that not?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I mean, in agents' terms, we've got young ladies on who are 17, 18 who've got agents, and they're not being paid more than 50 quid a week. So the agent's not getting much of that. But for the agents at that level, it's about numbers. So they've got hundreds and hundreds of these girls and boys of that age on their books. And, I was negotiating with one agent earlier this season, and he'd never seen the player play. So, it got to the point of him saying, but, she's going to be a top class talent. She's got a great left foot. He didn't say that, but you get the point. And he'd never seen her play. And I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is that there is more money coming into the women's side of the game now, but I think it will ruin it in the same way as it's ruined the men's game.
Yeah.
I can't remember who asked the question, but one of the people listening said, should things like the FA Cup, the big cup finals, always be on terrestrial TV? And of course they should. But somebody answered saying, well, money talks, and it does, so it'll go to the highest bidder. And I think the love of football has gone out from some of the players because it's more about money now, and that's true of the men's and women's side. It's more about a business and a job, and I think that's detracting from the game, to be honest.
I think the agent situation, which is stupid. I mean, they're even putting courses on Facebook on how to be a football agent, and
give us that number actually.
I think the agent situation's become like scouts were back in my day, where they chuck the big net out, they get as many players signed in on schoolboy forms, and if they get two out of that lot, that make it, great. And I think the agents, like you say, some of them aren't on more than £50 a week, and the agents, they're probably just getting as many of them as they can and hoping they get a couple of them that are going to earn the money out of that lot. And that seems to be how the agents are working these days.
Yeah. And also, just to add to that, we had a goalkeeper, just a young goalkeeper who we were playing. So she was getting game time, and her agents made her go to sit on the bench of a team that's one league higher because it's nearer the money. And that was the quote: nearer the money.
Not what the girl wanted.
And this for me, when I look at the women's game, it's not the good luck to girls wanting to play football. Absolutely crack on. I wish my daughter, maybe if football had been a bit more prevalent 10 years ago in the women's game, I'd have been there right with her, on the touchline. Absolutely, but it has to be a worry, I think, because these agents they're unscrupulous people, most of them, and it is a worry, I think, that they will push the wage barrier. And all we're doing is putting it to where the men are. I mean, the men's game's got ridiculous. It's ludicrous, and the women's game it's a shame it can't start out afresh and not make the same mistakes. But I think when you've got these agents in control of the players, the mistakes could and your problem then is you've got to start having that revenue coming in to give the women's game a chance because of the high wage brackets that agents eventually will want to push for. And I'm not being, it's like me. I'll criticise every man's player on the money. We'll talk about young Saka, Arsenal in a bit, because some of that's ludicrous what's going on with that. And I don't blame the player because if it was me, someone wants to offer me that ridiculous money, mate, I'm having some of it. I don't think any one of us wouldn't if you offered that ridiculous money to do something you actually love doing.
No.
But obviously they've got the agent in their ear, and the environment has been made that it can happen. So, I would say in the ladies' game, that would have to be your biggest worry, that they will push it too far one way, and then it's going to be where we are with the men's game, which isn't in a great place, let's be honest.
Well, I think that's true. I mean, what's already happening is that the richest teams, the Man Cities, the Chelseas, are stockpiling good players, and of course that was also what happened in the men's game.
Yeah.
And then they were actually running the number of players that they could loan out to other clubs as almost a business. But they do it just to block other people, and I mean it's the same in the men's and women's game. But I'll use a women's example. So. West Ham, who are in the Women's Super League, so Paul Konchesky's their manager, a guy I know quite well. And, the budget that he's got means that all he can actually do is have 2 or 3 players that are of a level within the Women's Super League, and then a lot of cheaper youngsters, because he can't compete for the bigger ones. He went in for I won't name the player because it's not fair.
No.
But she plays for England.
Yeah,
he offered her 150,000 a year, and she went and sat on this might give it away, but on the Chelsea bench because she was getting paid double that for not playing, and that's why I think that happens in the men's game all the time now. There are players who just go to clubs for the money.
Something's just hit me, right? And it ain't about the women's game, but you've just highlighted something that there was a time when a football player just wanted to play football. That's gone, hasn't it?
Yes.
I mean that is rife in the men's game, isn't it? And just explaining that with the ladies player there, that's just hit me that there are probably too many players, and we see it at a lot of clubs. They're not there for the love of football. They're there for the love of money, and that's why maybe you get so many disgruntled fans at clubs where you pay good money to go and see a team of players, and they clearly do not give 2 shits about the club. They're there for one reason only. That's a shame. But anyway, we'll get off that because we are still going to touch on a few things revolving money. But let's just quickly jump into the chat room because I'm neglecting them. Two greats of the world of sport, football crowd trouble spilling over into non-league. Sean, that's been happening for a while, mate. If you look, there has been a reasonable level of trouble been spilling over into the non-league for a little while now. He's referencing the Tamworth Nuneaton match at a crowd of over 2,000. I think they call it the A5 Derby, and that got abandoned because of crowd trouble. We've seen significant levels of crowd trouble in non-league. So I don't think that's new at the moment, Sean, but I am aware of that incident without a doubt. And we don't want non-league to end up like we see in the elite where you've all got to sit down, be quiet and eat your popcorn. We want to be able to enjoy our game. But if violence continues at any level, then unfortunately it will bring restrictions into the grounds in non-league as well. Okay, do you think between the FA, the government, and both ITV or the BBC, is this what you were saying? Yeah, about all major finals, he's talking men's and women's, are available on terrestrial TV. It's a good point. You've touched on it already, Greg. Paul, it's a really good point, mate. And my feeling is, I think they should be. I think there's enough money in the game that surely they can afford to maybe do it a little bit for less money and allow everyone to be able to watch these games. you know. So personally, it would be great, but I think Greg hit the nail on the head. You know, unfortunately, to keep up with the players' wages and everything else, well, mainly that, they need that big bucks coming in. In all fairness, I think that's fair to say, isn't it, Greg?
Yeah, I think it is. It's sad because I agree. Everybody should be able to watch games like that. Everybody should be able to watch, you know, the England internationals, the rugby, and some of that is coming back. Actually, it's starting to come back on terrestrial, but I think it shouldn't even be a question. Unfortunately, money does talk at the end of the day, and that's why it'll never happen.
No, absolutely. A good evening to us all from Ian Howes. How are you, sir? Up in chilly Scotland, I guess it is at the moment. Alex has just Alex Langley, regular. How are you doing, Alex? Sean, it was a few Tamworth people that spoke the evening. It is becoming a rather common theme, though. In all fairness, replying about the cup finals, I think will never happen. Money dictates. To be honest, I can't see a future for the League Cup now. There's no carrot of a UEFA. Have they stopped that then? Have they? So taking the UEFA place away from the League Cup? I didn't realise.
I didn't think they had, but I don't know.
Okay, Alex, we'll take your word for that. I didn't realise they had, but yeah, absolutely. You know. Again, I guess they want to use that space to keep the top 6 teams happy rather than the rest of football. There we are. That's me having a dig. Obviously, finished 2-0 to Man United. I'm gutted about that. I really wanted to see them pick something up there. And that. Thank you, Stephen Parkin, for that, letting us know. Thank you, sir. Ben Cliff, mate, you went missing a little bit lately. Come on, I want you on the show as well. And I'm not going to say what you just said. Anyway, we're going to skip past that one. Alex, quite clear how she made it in the game. Okay, there's a bit of a debate going on between a couple of them over women's football. We'll let them debate that out. Trouble at Workington versus Macclesfield. Macclesfield got a bit of a reputation for trouble, haven't they? FA Cup final day on terrestrial TV back in the day was the highlight. Where Ian, absolutely 100%. Right, we're caught up there, gentlemen. Let us now a couple of subjects that I want us to touch on. Let me see what we're going to do first. You have to excuse me. I'm just having a look through what I got. Right, okay. So I did say about we're doing a Under the Floodlight. What's Under the Floodlights? So when we do an Under the Floodlights, it's a more of a one-on-one interview with people. And we got one this Thursday at 7:00. Got to do one with Nigel, actually. I keep saying we're going to do that, Nigel. But listen, we've got a couple of fellas coming on from, I'm just going to bring this up now, Dull Square FC. There's the banner. Just read the comment below. Hashtag keep greed out of football. So what this is really interesting, chaps, is a group of Arsenal supporters that are disgruntled with the current situation. Now, the BBC have just done a piece on them, but didn't actually put everything in the piece. Some of it's not been left out, certainly facts and figures. And I'm not going to spoil it now, but some of the information that they've got and some of the facts and figures about how fans are being almost fleeced, there's no other word for it, is scary. Absolutely scary. But I'm not going to, that's a carrot, everyone. 7:00 on Thursday. And what they've done, they're disgruntled Arsenal fans that have moved away. They formed a club. I'm not sure what league they're in, actually, but I know they've won promotion yesterday with a 2-0 win. So well done them. But we'll find out a lot more on Thursday. But it's a fan-owned club. And we see these stories dotting around, like Dorking. Look at what happened with them. Again, disgruntled Wimbledon fans at the move 23 years ago. Look at them now. You know, all right, they lost to Wrexham yesterday, but let's face it, Wrexham are the big boys of non-league football, along with Notts County, and they are up in the National League, you know, one step away from getting into the league structure. So, you know, we do hear this a few times where disgruntled fans do this, but this is because they have had enough of the bureaucracy around and how their club are fleecing fans. They get stick for it as well from Arsenal fans. You know, we all know how deep it runs with our clubs, but they love their club, Arsenal. But you've got to hear what they got to say, and some of the facts and figures. It's going to be a real big eye-opener. Right, okay. What am I going to do? I am going to, so that was dull. I'm going to bring this one up while we're talking about money. We'll get this out of the way. Then we'll move on to a few funny things and a few other subjects. But let's just get this out of the way because it's all about money. Right, as you can see, a little post there with some details. Nathan Jones, love him or hate him. You know, just look at what this has cost Southampton. This is absolute madness, right? It's cost them £8.4 million for 94 days' work. Okay, he won one league game. His £125 million a year contract will be paid in full, and to make it worse, Southampton paid Luton £4 million to get him out of his post. Well, what does that say other than, from my point of view, Nigel, I'm going to get your comment on it first. Is this about these owners coming in from America? There's many of them now owning our clubs, from Saudi Arabia. They ain't got a flaming clue about football. You know, we've said already about whoever made that decision to bring that man in, it was off their trolley. You know, he's love him or hate him. I hear he's a nice guy, but he's a bit deluded in some respects from what I've heard. And he's clearly not a Premiership level manager at this stage of his career. That money, these guys coming into our game ain't got a clue what they're talking about, ain't got a clue what they're doing, and they're just throwing money away in a time when people are struggling to eat their bleeding houses. Nigel, what's your opinion on what you've just seen?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, there's no shame in getting sacked these days. I think the sooner you get sacked, the more money you make, because they get payoff. You know, they're on massive contracts. Like you say, if they only last 10, 12 days, they get a good payoff. So it's not like back in the older days where managers weren't on millions of pounds. You know, if you get sacked and you're out of work, you're not earning, are you? But these days, it's, even with footballers, like they sign one big contract made for life. You know, there's no bonuses, there's no incentives in the contract. You know, we had the £200 win bonus at Watford, and if you didn't win a game in a month, it hurt you in the pocket. You know, but these guys, they go out, and like I said earlier, nobody wants to lose a match. Well, every single player wants to go out and be the star player and win matches, but if they lose a match 5-0, it ain't going to stop them doing anything, because the money will still be going in the bank at the end of the week or the end of the month. So I think with the managerial side of things, it's a no-lose situation. If they do well, their reputation goes up and probably get offered a better contract. If they don't do well, they still get a payoff.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be living on the streets, are they?
No. Greg, from just what's your feeling about the influx of foreign owners, mainly American and some of the Middle Eastern owners, a lot of Americans? Clearly, we're seeing crazy money being thrown around at Chelsea, absolute ridiculous purchases, you know, paying well above the odds because the guy don't seem to care. And this situation in Southampton, are we seeing now? Are we seeing an influx of owners that can't be healthy for our sport? Surely, what do you think?
I don't think it is healthy. I mean, having heard about Nathan Jones, as you put it up there, I don't know whether I want to be an agent or a manager now. I might apply for both because both seem to be making good money. I think, and the other crazy thing is, no matter how bad your record, when you get sacked, you probably get another job within a month.
Yeah.
Somebody else will take you on and give you a similar kind of contract. Crazy.
It's like a manager merry-go-round, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is. But I think the owners come into it now for the wrong reasons. You know, these foreign owners and investors that are coming in. It's not for a love of the club. It's not for a love of English football. Probably it's more because it's a prize. It's a possession. You know, they've bought the big yachts and airplanes, and they've done that. Now might as well buy Man United or whoever. You know, it's that. It's a toy, and it's in some cases it's to offset business investments, and there's ways that they can hide that money. But so it makes business sense. But I don't think in any sense it's a love of the game, and I think that's why it's a bad thing. It drives the poor behaviour that we've talked about before with agents and players and moving it away from the fans. I actually think, you know, to come full circle, this is the beginning of the end, because it can't carry on like this. You know, it's spiralling up, but at some point
the bubbles
can't go any further.
Burst. It's got to. You know, we were talking about this the other week, weren't we, Nigel, with Dan? And we were saying, like, has the bubble started to burst? Because you got the situation with Manchester City, the European Super League back on the agenda. You've got the government bringing in this adjudicator, you know, which I think is a load of tosh, because if that part of that adjudication would be that a club could not join a foreign league. They would have to they have to have a license, so all clubs will be licensed. But it could be 3 years before this is actually in place. So if the European Super League decides to do it in 18 months, then there are no licenses in place, so they can't have. And if Man City are pissed off with the Premier League because if they get battered over what's going on there, you know, it's like, I don't know, it just, none of this seems real.
It doesn't make sense. And I think the other thing is that because they want the club, that's a prize, they then want the best players in the world. Doesn't matter whether they fit into the team or not. No. You know, you got to buy these players. And I think you know, that's something else that might ruin Man City. I'm not sure that they should have bought Haaland, by the way, but that's a different topic, because I think it makes them play differently, and they've suffered a bit for it at the beginning of the season.
We'll touch on that, because that's a good point. Something that we get a bit of input from Nigel on as well. But we'll touch on that in a moment, because it's a really good point.
You know, like they put the limits on how much you can spend on players and how many. If this Super League happens, right, them rules won't be in place with the Super League, because they'll try and produce a super team, and there'll be, I would imagine there'll be no limit on what you can spend on players and how many players you can get into that side, because obviously they're going to want the greatest players in every team to be playing in that league. So, you know, you can have teams like Barcelona, Man City's, your Liverpool's, whatever, spending £100 million on each player, a right back, a left back, a centre back, a midfielder. You know, it could spiral out of control.
Yeah. Do you know, one of the most sensible things that has been said by these people, I can't remember what they're called now, but who are putting forward the spokesman for the Super League, one of the most sensible things I heard him say was European football cannot no longer afford itself. Something has to change. And this is why they're putting this forward heavily now, a potential of 60 to 80 teams over 4 leagues. And one thing, I don't want to see that happen. But at the end of the day, the one thing that he said was so true is that football can no longer afford itself. He's talking in general about European football, you know, not just the Premier League. Probably the Premier League are the most healthiest league in Europe, I'm suspecting. But overall, football can't afford itself, is what he said. Hence why they know there's an appetite for change. So time is probably ticking on the clock for that. Just before we touch on the Haaland thing you were saying there, I just want to catch up again. Ben Cliff, crazy Nathan Jones, greatest businessman of all time. Worst manager ever. He's a Stoke City fan, Ben, so he's sort of experienced the managerial side. People in Stoke have no good words about him other than what a businessman. You can't give him some credit. Nathan Jones won't be going back to Luton again as before. As Rob Edwards is doing such a good job. He is, Ian, I agree with you. Ben, there's no better time to support your local grassroots or non-league club with all this stuff going on. 100%, Ben, hence why we do this show. And we're never that complimentary about the elite footballers, I now call them, and all these players who now live on planet Zog. We got Pitch jumping in at Luton should never have trust Jones. How he has buggered off from them twice. So has he been Luton twice then, Nathan Jones?
Yeah, he went back from Stoke to Luton, didn't he?
I didn't. Yeah, I don't really pay that much attention to Luton. Sorry, Luton, but hey ho, that's the way it goes. Right, look, we have got a few things to do. I want to shout out some of the away support. Got a couple of little funnies as well that we can look at. But before we do that, you've absolutely, Greg, you know what? I hadn't put it on my list, but you know what? It should have been on my list because that's been the talk this week. That Haaland, who came on board at the beginning of this wonderful, and look how many goals he scored, he's actually creating a big problem at Man City now because they're not playing the effective football that they were because they're trying now to play with that big man up front.
Yeah, and I think that often happens when you just bring in a star because he's a brilliant player. I think it might happen with Bellingham. I'm not saying Haaland and Bellingham aren't great players because they are. But you know, you need, in the past, managers would go out for players who they needed to fit the system that they played, that was going to improve the side. Now it's almost like, well, who's the best player because I want to pay money to get them. And I think that's driven by the owners, as we would start to say, because they want to have the prettiest things to play with. But I don't think it necessarily does the team any good. And in Man City's case, I think they have changed the way that they play, and it's not been as effective this season. And hence they're in the position they're in now. They're only second, and they may even win it. But I think they've struggled to come to terms with such a big character that needs feeding all the time. You need to get him in the right positions.
And that's what I'm hearing. Nigel, get your opinion in a moment. But this is what I'm hearing when I'm listening to pundits and everything during the week, that they're saying that in the last few games, they've not been able to feed Haaland. And their intensive football that they're renowned for is not there because of the change in style that Greg's alluding to with Haaland in the team. So if you don't get it through Haaland, they are not the team that they were. What's your thoughts?
I'm sort of split a little bit. I mean, I think he's come in and to score the amount of goals he scored and doing what he's done with that price tag on his head and the pressure. I think he's done really well. But maybe they are trying to force it through to him too much. And you know, there's I don't see why they've got to change the way they play just to accommodate him. But having said that, he's only been there 6 months. You know, you've got a lot of players when they come from abroad, it takes them a while to settle in. And I'm sure over the next few months, whether City win it or not, I think next season you'll see a different side.
Yeah.
Because they'll be used to him, he'll be used to them. He'll pick up some of the way they played without him. He'll sort of mould into that. But I can understand what people are saying. They think it's all about Haaland. But
yeah,
I'd still sooner have him in my side than not in my side.
I agree with you, Kelly. I mean, he's a cracking player. It's just that, you know, every good player that comes up now, there's only 2 or 3 sides that they're going to go to. You know, maybe 4. Yeah. It's the big 4 in the UK. You know, any decent player coming in is going to get to one of those, and that I'm not sure is about them picking players to suit the style that they want to play.
I do understand what you're saying because going back further, I said that Liverpool losing Mane, it was a massive mistake for them. They've never been the same since he's gone. And he was a massive cog in that team, and they played with him, but they should have broke the bank to keep him. But I think Liverpool would pay the price for letting that happen. So maybe Guardiola's thinking, we played without a centre forward last year, and we played well and we scored goals, and it wasn't a problem. But I'm sure they'll get away around it. I mean, like I said, I'd sooner have Haaland in my side than see him in somebody else's side.
Yeah, true. But that's that stockpiling again. I do worry about. But you're right; he's a great player.
Yeah.
Just to answer Jody, who's asked what we think of Barnet. I don't know much about Barnet, but I was at their ground this afternoon. It's great. So the Hive there, they've got a lovely little ground.
Yeah, you can see it if you get on at Stanmore and go down on the Jubilee line. I think it is, isn't it?
What league are they in?
Sorry,
what league are Barnet in?
National.
Oh, are they? Right.
Yeah. Have I got? I think I put a clip up last week of Barnet fans down at Torquay. Yeah, I did. 139 travelled down midweek to Torquay. Yeah. It's a nice little ground, that one, isn't it? I mean, beats Underhill.
Nice cheese toasty, by the way. It's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, what do we think of Barnet this season? Jody, I'll be honest. I'm not 100% sure because I've not seen them. It's hard to say. Let me just have a look, see where they are in the league. But like I say, yeah, I did put a clip up about Barnet last week, funny enough. And it's good to see some Barnet fans coming on. Please keep coming on, Jody. And we'll be a bit more intensified in Barnet for you. But yeah, I'm going to bring up another subject. I'm going to come back to Barnet. Let me just have a look at where they are in the league. But what I want to quickly touch on now, guys, is VAR. We're catching up a little bit from last week because the interview or the show with Tony Coton was just such a show with a lot of little normal things we do. We missed out. So VAR. So, the previous week there was some real controversial, very poor decisions, and I just want to show you this as well because this I think is Man United Chelsea. Now the player, we know there's been real controversy over the goals and whatever else. This didn't get a red card. Just have a look at that. Is that a leg breaking challenge or what?
It'd certainly be sore in the morning, wouldn't it?
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
But again, I don't know whether they look at things like this with VAR. I think he got a yellow card.
It depends whether the Man United player was going on to him or whether he's just put his foot up to sort of like.
If you look at the positioning, if you look at the position of the Man United player, that photo
looks like he's turning away on a half.
Yeah.
So like his legs up, and the guy's momentum's taking him into his leg. Yeah, it's a foul because his leg shouldn't be up there, but I don't. It didn't look like it was intentional.
And that's the trouble with VAR, but also with photos like this because you don't see what happened before or what happened afterwards. And often it's kind of in the flow of the game, it's nothing. But when you slow it down, it can be. And I don't think VAR. You can never get these things perfect, but I think we're seeing too many mistakes, aren't we?
Yeah, it was brought in to be bulletproof, Greg, wasn't it? I mean, and it's not bulletproof. And some of the idiots that are making the decisions, obviously they've been punished for it. But there's no place for it in a game, not unless it's bulletproof. It should be used for if the ball's over the line. It should be used for penalty decisions. But all these offsides by a pixel with your elbow and all that, it's ruining the game.
The thing is, Kelly, they're using the same idiots who used to get it wrong beforehand, i.e. referees.
Yeah.
But if they can't get it bulletproof, go back to normal. Let the referee's decision be final. And VAR only gets involved in controversial decisions like whether it's a penalty, if the ball's over the line, if it was, just leave the rest of it to the referee. And players, I reckon half the players now would say, yeah, I'll have that. I think
a lot of the fans...
they can't even celebrate a goal, can they?
No, I think a lot of the fans, as much as it was always a bit of a moaning point, and it was always a good chat on a Monday about that ref's decision. And I think a lot of the fans would like to go back to that, because you're quite right. One of the things is now you get a goal at the back of the net, that moment, that euphoria moment that is so what people love in the game is being taken away. Personally, I can't stand VAR. I don't think it should be in the game at all. Let the game be what it was always supposed to be. I think the fans probably needed a lesson to realise that, refs are not always going to get it right. It's impossible for them to get it right. They can, especially when the game runs so quick. But also the big thing for me is that VAR is an elite element of football. Elitist again. VAR, even in the FA Cup, you've got games with VAR and games not with VAR. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Again, this divide between the haves and the have-nots. And I think this is why these chaps on Thursday night have done what they've done. This is why we are on here talking about how football's in such a mess, because the haves and the have-nots. And for me, VAR shouldn't be. It's either for everyone, including the youngsters, and it can't happen because there's no way football at grassroots level could afford the technology or the grounds to have that type of technology, so therefore you shouldn't have it.
I agree with you. I think, if you boil it down, one of the things that we all loved about football was that chat on a Monday morning or in the pub. Did you watch the game? What a ridiculous decision. We were robbed. All that stuff was actually part of the game that we loved. Yeah. Having that conversation with your mates, having it with other people, the debate. Now it's about drawing bloody lines on a pitch, and people still getting it wrong. Ian's saying, wasn't it supposed to be correct, clear and obvious error? Yes, it was. But it's strayed into all kinds of things now, and it's still down to people's interpretation as to what clear and obvious is, to be honest. And it's referees. I'd take it out altogether. I'm with you, Gary.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's great. It's there for the main things like your penalties and your ball over the line. That's all it should be used for. Sort of referees have got to be able to do the jobs. I mean, today, it's cocking everything. I mean, even the referees' heads are getting cocked up now. I mean, that referee today sent a player off, and then he went to have a look at it again and decided he weren't going to send him off. So he's giving him a red card. Then for some reason, he's then gone over and had a look at the TV VAR again, and then he's rescinded the red card and given a yellow card. So it's sort of playing games with the referees at the moment. I think they don't know whether they're coming or going half the time.
It's not the game we all fell in love with. And I fear there is a bit of a divide in the fan base, because you've got the modern day football supporter who probably, they've grown up on their FIFA World Cup games, and this is the sort of football that they will love, all technical and all that, and, full of technology. But no, it isn't the game that it should be. It's designed to be what it is. But I guess we'll be all called dinosaurs. Just touching on Barnet, gentlemen, quickly for Jody. Mate, they're third. I didn't realise they're having a cracking season, mate. They're fourth. There is talk now that there's fundamental changes coming into the EFL, and part of them will be 3 up, 3 down into the National League. That opens up massive potential. Now, they're in 4th spot, yet they have games in hand, mind you, along with Chesterfield just behind them in 5th as well. But they have games in hand on Woking, 2 games in hand on Woking, which would bring them level on points with Woking in 3rd. Obviously, Notts County and Wrexham, they're away with the Fairies. No one's catching them two. It could be interesting if there are these changes. Not sure that a change of that nature should happen mid-season.
No.
You start the season knowing what you...
Yeah, I like the change. I do like
agree with the change, but not sure
it would mid-season.
I don't know. Who knows what's around the corner, But this is all part of the big EFL restructuring. Be interesting to see what else goes on. Right, we are going to have to hurry along a little bit. Yeah, but Jody, you're having a great season, without a doubt. And maybe if these changes come in, could well be back up into League Two. Right, okay. I'm going to quickly do our normal little bits here. So let's first of all, a few pats on the back for some of the away support. So this is Oldham at Chesterfield, over 1,300 Oldham travelling to Chesterfield. Well done, you. This is a midweek game, Southend at Notts County. You know, we are talking National League here, and Southend not exactly doing that well. So fair play to them. This is a massive support. Look at this. Greg, you'll like this. Derby County at Barnsley.
Go on, lads.
Over 5,000. Wow. Great support from Derby County there. Now, I'm just going to very quickly jump into our little funny section, but time's running out, so I'm not going to do the normal little funny video interlude, but I've got a couple for you. I'm going to show this in theme with crowds. This is Filbert Street. Just look at the roof. What a picture. So that's Leicester, Filbert Street. Brilliant, isn't it? Look at that. Health and safety at its finest. Oh my, I've lived that just that. Look at that photo. That's amazing, isn't it? And if you scroll through archives, you find lots of photos like that of the old days, you know. Unbelievable. I was in London last night. We went and see a band in King's Cross at the very famous Water Rats. And as you can imagine, it was like going to Newcastle. It was just wall-to-wall Geordies. Amazing support. Just one thing I just want to say as well, and there's a reason why I'm just saying this. I just needed to explain why I was in London, because I'm going to show you a photo in a minute. I just have to say, the Geordie fans tidied up after themselves after their party in Trafalgar Square. Fair play. They left it spotless. Unbelievable. Well done. Well done, the Geordie fans, and gutted for you. Gutted for you. Right, so here's me walking along the thoroughfare at St Pancras International Station, and I come across this. I don't know what it was going on. Obviously an Arsenal supporter of something. We love King Charles III, flag man. He's got a Q8. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, the modern Arsenal supporter. God knows what was going on there. I really didn't know, and I didn't want to ask. Right, okay. We are very good at showing goals. Now, let's show one that didn't go in. Have a look at this.
Oh! Oh! Come on! Come on! Oh! Oh!
I'm not sure what side that was. I was told it was Sunday League, but I suspect it probably wasn't. I'm not sure. I don't think Sunday League games take place on pitches of that sort of where they got stadium around them. But it may well have been a Sunday League. But yeah, oh boy, did that goal not go in?
You know, I told you a while back when we was doing the good old days about the fact that Graham Taylor fined a lot of us for coming out a couple of minutes late.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll make this the good old days, right? Good old days. Go for it, Nige.
Well, yeah, just basically, but he said be 2 minutes early, not 2 minutes late. Well, I just see a piece in the paper the other day about Gracius is taken over Leeds. Apparently he fines his players £100 per minute they're late. So if they're late for training, they get fined £100 per minute.
Yeah, but in terms of what they get paid, mate, that's probably only a couple of quid to us, isn't it?
yeah.
I think it brings
do that though. You know, like I know it's not a lot, but it's good that the discipline's still there. You know.
I think if there's one thing that he did at Watford was he was an organised manager, you know, and he had a great run and not so great run. I wouldn't say it's all down to the manager at Watford. I think there's other elements involved at that club, and he was probably unlucky. Good luck to him. That's what I say. Good luck to him. Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay, Greg. Can I ask you, because you're a Derby fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
Give me one memory of Nigel playing for Derby that sticks out in your mind.
God blimey.
They put you on the spot.
I made a big impact on you then, didn't I?
Well, mate, I mean, it's so long ago, Nigel. That's the problem, mate. My memory's like a sieve. There's a goal that I think you've shown recently. I've seen it on some highlights reel that I watched of you, where you run almost from the halfway line. It seemed like it to me anyway, and slot it away. That's the thing that's coming into my head when I try and think about you. For me, Cali was
Plymouth match. It was last game of the season, and we needed to win that to win the title. But I've got to say, I don't know whether he went to the Sheffield United away game.
Yeah, I mean,
we took a tremendous amount of supporters to that. I think we took over one end of Bramall Lane.
Yeah,
and that was a great match. And like I said, Derby County supporters are a different class. You know, to get 30,000 at a League One match that just shows you how low they are.
They are a different breed, but it's I think there's a lot of clubs like that. To be fair to it helps that it's a one club town, one club city. That really kind of means that the support's not divided for other places.
It's a really good point, that is, Greg, because if you look at some of the other one, I mean, I think Leeds is the biggest city that is a one club. And look at the support they have away wherever they go. Fair, huge support. Newcastle, if you look at some of these huge supported clubs, like you say, one club cities.
Yeah, but they've had some success in the past as well. I mean, so have Leeds, of course. But I think that helps because we dine out on our history, don't we? We dine out on the fact
you have to these days, mate, because there's no way anyone gets any success anymore unless you're taken over by Saudi Arabia or Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's true.
Always got to bring a negative stance into it,
It's true.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. I think it's fair to say we've gone over a little bit. Greg, thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully at some point, I know Sundays are difficult for you, but hopefully at some point you'll come on again and we can get a bit of an update on what's happened with your ladies' side as well as the men's side at Billericay. So we'd love to have you back on whenever you're available. Let us know.
Just a quick one before you go, Greg. The team, the ladies' team you got at the moment, are they full time or is it?
No, they're training a couple of times a week. So the difference would be if we got that promotion.
Yeah, you go full time.
Full time. There are full time teams in our league, though. It's
right on
the cusp at the moment.
Yeah, so your whole wage structure and everything at the club changes if you get promoted, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
didn't know that.
But no, thanks for having me on, guys. I've enjoyed it. And
good.
Ian Hiles, the tenors in the post.
Only 2 more days to go, Greg.
I can stop drinking water.
Crack over that bourbon.
Just before I just pass the last word from Callie, let's just have a quick look down. Them Leicester fans must have been out on the tiles the night before. Dear oh me, great. Ian. Nigel. Oh, let's pop that up. Yeah, let's just quickly do that. Nigel, if you want to join Nigel on his Mixcloud tonight, what time, Nigel?
Yeah, I'll be on at 9 o'clock. Chill out Sunday. Just have a few drinks, see out the weekend. Not been the best weekend for the football teams, though, is it?
Stephen Parkins saying he will be there. Jerry just wants to congratulate Celtic on their win at Hampden Park today. 2-1 was the final score against Rangers there.
I've got to also say it's Greg's birthday on the 1st of March.
That's Wednesday.
It isn't actually my birthday, mate. It's it's just when I can start drinking again. That's why. It'll feel like a birthday.
It's better than a birthday. Yeah. Great to see Greg on the show again. Hope he is back again soon. Absolutely. When he can break away from his little jollies on a Sunday evening. It's his only time to have a break, see? But when he does, I'm sure he'll say, Gary, I'm available this week if you want. Won't you, mate?
I will.
Okay, so that's it. He said, oh, by the way, just said, thanks, Greg. Make it a Scottish tenor. That's it, folks. Last word from Nigel, please.
Yeah. Just it's always good to see Greg on here. And again, another good show today. Really enjoyed it. So
brilliant. That's the most important thing, isn't it? If we're enjoying it, hopefully everyone else does. People, join us 7:00 Thursday for the interview with 2 of the fan owners of Dale Square FC. That is really going to be interesting. Greg, tune in. I think you might hear some facts and figures that will make what maybe, certainly won't make our hair curl. Might make Nigel's, but not ours. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a real insight into disgruntlement of, let's face it, the top side in the country as it stands at the moment. We'll get a great insight there. And like I say, they've just come off the back of an interview with the BBC, and the BBC didn't exactly put everything on there. But hey, I'm sure we're going to have a great insight on Thursday, 7:00. And of course, next week, who we got on next week, Nige?
Is it Steve Sherwood?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Steve Sherwood on another goal. We were probably looking after the goalkeepers union here, aren't we? Had Tony Coton on last week. Now we've got Steve Sherwood coming on.
He's one of the few keepers to score a goal from a kick.
Yeah, and we'll be out. Actually, we must find the footage of that for next week, and then he can tell us a little bit about it. You're quite right. I remember that. Yeah.
Commentary.
Yeah. Score a goalkeeper score. I remember that. I do remember that. And right, okay, so that's what we've got coming up next week and again Thursday. So have a lovely, safe week, everybody. Enjoy whatever it is you're doing through the week. And thanks again, many thanks for Greg coming on. And we do hope we see you again soon. And good luck to Billericay, both the men's and the ladies team. We wish you all the best. Okay, folks, that's it from us. Have a safe week, and I'll play you out with this. So, au revoir.
The Proper Football Live Show, Sundays at 6 p.m. for your football fix on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and PF Radio. Check out our website at Proper Football.